Hey wrestling friends, welcome to episode number 9 of Suplexes and Microphones. I'm Nate, we got Joe over there. Between us, who we're interviewing today is Billy Brash, and we're excited to get to know him a little bit. One of my favorite heels in the business, so looking forward to getting to know him a little bit better. Billy, welcome.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all having me.
Thank you for being here, Billy. I want to talk about you being a heel because you're one of our favorites at being a heel, for sure. You definitely got the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing going because outside of there, you're one of the nicest guys I've ever met. But the first thing I want to talk about is something that is really impressive, and it's your body transformation this year. I don't know if it's just been 2017 or it started in 2016. We saw you about a year ago, maybe a little longer, Nate, and you definitely weren't obese.
You can say it. I let myself go.
You weren't obese. No, you really weren't.
More like me or anything.
But you've trimmed down a lot, and we've noticed you're now doing some moves in the ring we didn't see last year. Yeah. Maybe you could do them last year, but maybe you weren't comfortable. I don't know. Talk to us about how much weight you've lost, what you're doing in the gym, some of that stuff.
Yeah, I took most of 2016 off, and when I took it off, I got lazy, and I just started not caring about my diet, not caring about anything. I got up to 245 was my heaviest, and actually in January I was still 245. And it's just been mainly it's just diet, and I work out 6 days a week, and then we also run the training school, the Palmetto Wrestling Academy, and that's 4.5 to 5 hours twice a week in a gym with no air conditioning. So that's really helped out a lot with the cardio and conditioning and all that stuff. Yeah. So I'm down to the 205 pounds now, so I've lost
205. Let's do it. Let's do it.
205.
You're the tallest one up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, you'd be a beast.
I'll be the Alex Wright.
You're talking about the Warrior Warehouse where you guys train, and we're going to talk about the training academy in just a minute. But we've been in there in July, and you don't even have to move around.
Dude,
you're going to be pouring sweat in just about 2 minutes.
Just walking in there, putting our shoes on, getting dressed. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I don't know how to say this the right way, but we're proud of the transformation you've made. Nate's actually joined the gym recently, and I think, he may say it, he may not, you might have been one of the inspirations for that. Because of the big change. So,
I appreciate that.
It's definitely noticeable. Everybody's seeing it. I think I joked, you posted some kind of picture on Instagram, shirtless. And I may have deleted it before I wrote it, but I said something like, "What time you take the stage?" Like stripper or something. Because you're really getting lean, dude, and it's really impressive.
I appreciate it.
And obviously your abilities in the ring are going to just continue to grow.
Yeah, I feel better than I have in a long time. I've had a lot of what I took off for was just nagging injuries and stuff. Like my right knee has been just a mess for the last 4 or 5 years, something like that. It's been just really giving me problems. And now that I've lost the weight and lightened up, it feels like a brand new knee almost. It still has the morning where you wake up and still really tender and stuff like that. But for the most part, man, I feel really good. I feel a lot better than I have in a long time.
That's good. Yeah, and I think Nate and I can both relate. We both had some knee injuries. Mm-hmm. Anyway, moving on, I want to talk about, if you guys are wondering what this is about, there's a long story. If you watched the interview with Mikey Galino, we talked about interactions with certain people, and we actually discussed some interactions with you when we interviewed Mikey, and he talked about a kid having some Skittles, and you took the Skittles and you threw them, and he comes up and says he hates Skittles. Right? So at the last Viral Pro, and we're here at Viral Pro Wrestling, thank you Joshua Hancock for giving us this time. The last Viral Pro show, my wife and I, my kids had them, and of course she came up and just threw them in the cheap seats. But some of the things that make you a great heel. Last month at PCW, they plugged our video podcast that you're on now. You come out and say, "You got your cheap plug, now sit down." You knocked my hat off. So
it wasn't that cheap, by the way.
Yeah, if you only knew. But talk about some maybe the best interaction you've had with a fan. Maybe the one where you knew you were getting that heat right then.
It's honestly it's every show really. Like the best, like I forget what I do most of the time when I come out. It's all flying by the seat of my pants. I pick out somebody. You can always tell somebody who wants want you to come after them for
He's
the most
sitting
part.
next to you.
And then you can also tell the ones that don't want you to come after them. So I get a good mix of both. Like the kids, one of my favorite things to do is to hold the hand up. You got to give the high five and just put it down and walk off. Yeah. Actually, the Skittles thing was one of those random moments. We came out and Mikey was behind me and this kid had Skittles and I was like, I'm gonna mess with this kid. And I was like, give me some of those Skittles. And he was like, and his family was like, I was like, what, you aren't teaching him to share? Give me some Skittles.
Yeah.
And like, they're like, give him Skittles. And he pours a whole bunch in my hand. As soon as he did, I don't eat this crap. And slung it. It was just one of those ad-lib moments, man. And Mikey comes up, he was perfect right behind me. He's like, he hates Skittles.
Right.
That's where it started from there. So then it became popcorn and people's water bottles and whatever I can get my hands on.
And now it's almost like you have to find somebody to take
I
something.
gotta find something, yeah.
You set that tone. Yeah, the interactions are awesome. Nate, do you want to talk about when he bit your nose?
Yeah, sure. A lot of times we kind of do the nose to nose, getting in each other's faces and yelling and whatnot. And you got really close. In fact, so close his mouth is open, yelling. And his teeth hit the roof of my nose. I was like,
I think we both came in and nobody did the chicken. Nobody turned away.
Yeah.
So
And see, Nate's a big guy, so you guys are pretty much eye to eye.
That's where we wound up.
6'4", right?
6'3".
Yeah, so it was pretty good, definitely. And I think you even posted some pictures of that.
Yeah, I think
on your actual Facebook.
Yeah, I had a video one time of him yelling, and I think it's the same show where he got into the ring and leaned through the ropes right at me on the front row. And I have two kids that are 10 and 5, and he yells, "I will eat your children."
Yes.
I was like, oh, I don't really know how to respond to that one, and I'm used to this, so
Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah. Any other that stand out in your mind besides obviously the Skittles story?
It wasn't really like a heat, but one of my interactions with the crowd was actually when I won the PWX ITV title. So I took it from Lance Lude, one of the Ugly Ducklings. I won it off of him, and I had taken him to the time limit the show before, so it gave me an automatic contract, kind of like a Money in the Bank deal, where I could cash it in whenever I wanted. So I put on a hood, lucha libre mask, put on a sleeve that covered up my tattoos, and I sat in the crowd the entire show with a PWX wrestling shirt on. I was just trying to be that awkward wrestling fan, you know what I mean? The one who you can tell he really loves wrestling, but he doesn't really know how to control his body. So I was just doing weird things and stuff like that. And it was actually during Lance's match. He kicked him, and it was a big, loud sound. And the two guys behind me, they were two old guys. And one guy was like, "How does he make that sound?" The other guy goes, "Man, he must have them poppers in his boots." It took everything I had not to just die laughing right there.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Oh, what about the PCW, the wedding proposal?
Oh, dude. And on the way here, Nate and I talked about this, and because you're so good at just picking something out and going after it, and for you guys that weren't there, PCW show last month, July, a guy proposed, and the girl agreed to marry him. Billy's the next one out, gets right on the mic, and you remember what you said?
Yeah, I asked him what happened to Waffle House, wouldn't let him do it.
And so I wondered, and Nate and I were talking about this on the way, if you were in the back like, oh God, let me get the mic.
No.
I'm going to wreck this guy.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
This is 100%. As soon as that happened, I was like, well, I have to do a promo now.
Right. That's what we thought.
100%.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Hellhounds. That's the team here with you and Joshua Cutshaw. And you guys have done a lot, had a lot of success. Last month you lost to the Ducks. Tonight you got a 4-way for the title, tag titles. But we noticed that you guys are getting booked together somewhere else now.
Mm-hmm.
So we know how the team came together, but tell us about the chemistry and how it works. What do you think makes the Hellhounds great?
Actually, we're, since there is no more Creator and there's no more Six, we are now the Monster Squad.
Okay.
Right. We were the Hellhounds when we were in the faction with them, but now that we don't need them.
Right, and the whole thing
We
was
are
the
the
Monster Squad,
Monster
right?
Squad.
With Six
Right.
and Mikey. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, I mean, we were the only ones who did anything anyway, so,
Basically.
Yeah. So we've taken that, and it's just one of those things. I've known Josh for a while now, since before he ever figured out who he was. When he was Ross Vegas, we laugh about all the time. Like, I couldn't stand him. I hated his guts. Like, I legit could not stand the kid. He was just one of those guys who just wanted to tell everybody he was a wrestler. At least that's how it seemed to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not have been the case. I was young and still very in my young angst at the time and stuff. So, but over the years, you know, just doing more shows and being around each other more and more, I really like him. He's got a style all his own, and I think it meshes well with mine.
Right.
We're just two tall guys who work unlike really anybody else around here. So it made perfect sense for us to try this thing out.
Okay. Recently, I don't know how recent, but we've noticed the Built to Self-Destruct shirts and stuff, and I know Nate and I both liked how it looked and everything. How'd you come up with that?
It's me 100%. Like my entire life, I never know when it's a good thing until it's over, sort of deal. You know, I'm one of those.
Are you saying you're impulsive?
Very, very. I'm one of those who, if you want to know something or if I have an opinion on it, I will never hide it from you. I'm gonna tell you right to your face if I have a problem or if something isn't right. And sometimes I don't always do it in the best manner. And it's been one of those things where I've burned bridges and, you know, in the past and stuff like that because I was like, I'm doing it my way and wouldn't listen to advice from people. And it was just in real life and wrestling and everything. So, you know, it's just that natural progression that now I can take something that was perceived as a weakness or a fault of mine and use it to my advantage.
Yeah, you know, twice I've said, you and I got a lot in common. Now I'm going to say a third time because some of the impulsiveness I definitely have.
Before we get too far, I want to get back on the Hellhounds. I noticed, not this last show, but the show before, when Mikey wasn't able to be here as your manager, before he turned on you guys. I noticed you did the mic work for the two of you, and also your promo we talked about right before we started recording. You did a great promo recently talking about tonight. Do you have much experience on the mic, that kind of a thing? Or?
Yeah, I always say that's where I shine the most. When you give me a microphone, I can talk for days. You know, I can get by on my wrestling, but my mic work is where I pride myself the most on. I think that's something that I have that a lot of people don't have. Mm-hmm. You know, it's tough to, number one, to come up with something, and it's also tough to continue that thought throughout, you know, without a script, without anything, because I never write anything down. I have a rough idea of where I want to go, because if I write something down, then I jumble over my words and I stumble and I get lost. So if I have a rough idea, I just basically just freestyle and just talk. If it comes out good, cool. If it doesn't, let's do another take and see what happens on the next one.
Well, see, that makes sense with what you just said about the impulsiveness stuff. If you plan things, that goes against that. So
exactly.
You know, that makes perfect sense now you say that. You got any more?
That's it. I just wanted to talk about that.
So last month, PCW, you went against John Schuyler. Everybody recognizes Schuyler's one of the best guys in the Southeast. And Nate and I both said that was match of the night on a pretty good card.
Yeah.
I mean, there were lots of good matches. Just about any name in the Southeast was there that night. What do you think made that match great in your mind?
Honestly, it was me and John. We've known each other for a long time, too, as well. I've known him since I started wrestling. And we haven't worked with each other or really haven't been around each other a lot in the last couple of years. And it was one of those things where we came in and we're both like-minded in trying to tell a story to the crowd with what we're doing and trying to make everything mean something instead of just move, you know, why are you doing this, why are you doing that? And it was actually, it was just one of those things, like, what we had was a 10-minute window is what they wanted, but everybody was just so into it, and the two of us, like, I'm real big on, I never go over my times, I never break time. It's one of my things I pride myself on. But the emotion and the way the crowd was feeling it and everything, we were going, and by the time we got done, we finished it up, we come in the back, and I thought we were close to time, and everybody's like, y'all realize y'all almost went 30 minutes? And I was like, no, I did not. I apologize.
Well, no, see, that's the thing. I didn't think you went 30 minutes.
It didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like it at all.
It really was. It was hot. It was back and forth, but developed, like you said.
You took your time, too. It wasn't rushed.
Yeah. Both of you, too, looked to the crowd a lot to see, and you recognize the fact that, you know, everybody's chanting Schuyler, so I got to do something here. We got to, you know, keep this thing going.
Yeah, I mean, Schuyler, he's a phenomenal talent anyway. He is hands down one of the best in the Southeast, if not in the entire country. You know, you could put him in the ring with anybody, and he's gonna do well. So I mean, it was just so easy. The chemistry was there, and everything was there.
That's good.
So you say you've known him for a long time. Have you wrestled together before?
The last time was at OSCW, probably 3+ years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, since we've actually been in the ring with each other, it's been a long time. We've been on a bunch of shows, just never with each other.
Now we talked about a little bit about you losing weight and looking a little more agile in the ring. You did a move on him, and I saw a picture of it from another show recently, where you kind of go into a corner, you flip up and do like kind of a twist into a splash.
Mm-hmm.
Do you come up with that yourself, or is that something you've seen before? Or?
No, I was something that I had spitballed. And honestly, it's weird. My best friend Ethan Case, he can vouch for it. I tell him all the time. I dream wrestling.
Hmm.
So I actually dreamt up that move. I've dreamt up several things, and I have a notebook next to my bed that I keep, and we try to pound it into our kids' heads that we're training too. Like, have that notebook, because that's where your best ideas come from when you're watching TV or something.
Right.
Write it down immediately. And that was one of those things. Like, I wrote it down, and I was like, I started thinking about it. I was like, I could really make that work. So just have plenty of opportunity at the school and tried it out, and it's something I've been trying to do a lot more of, because I feel like everybody expects the Vader bomb when I set up. So when I twist and hit the senton on them, it's a little flashy, which really normally is not my style, but you know, I try to add a little flair to it.
I like it 'cause I've never seen it before, and then me and Joe have been fans for 30 plus years, and every now and then we'll get popped at a show, like we'll kind of nudge each other, like, wow, that's pretty cool, I've never seen that before, and that was a moment for me. I was like, you see that? That was pretty cool. So to pop us, you know, that's a pretty cool thing.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
it takes a little something. We've seen a lot. You know, that's not bragging, but we're old.
Right.
We've been watching for a while.
I-
And I told Ethan this the time we interviewed him. The first time I ever saw Ethan, I was like, this guy, what is this guy serious? You know, because he comes out and the gimmick is a little awkward if you've never seen him.
Yeah.
And then I think he did a moonsault or something. And I did one of these to Nate, and he knew exactly what I was. Okay, this guy, all right, he surprised me, you know. So that was one of those moments, that move for you, definitely. I'm going to skip ahead here because we're talking about Ethan, and you mentioned the Palmetto Wrestling Academy. The first interview we ever did was Ethan Case.
Right.
And that's the night you actually told me, and it was announced in the ring, Palmetto Wrestling Academy is formed. And these are our trainers, Billy Brash, you know, Malachi, and Ethan. Tell us about what that's done for you besides the body transformation. I mean, how has it affected you to be able to pass on knowledge?
And it's such a rewarding thing, because like it gets very frustrating at times. It does, because when you're trying to teach somebody something that's so unnatural. You know what I mean? You're trying to teach somebody how to fall down when your entire life you've been taught not to fall down or catch yourself when you fall. So trying to do these things, and our big thing is, I feel like there's so many trainers and schools and stuff that will just take the money. It's a 4-month period or 6-month period, however long it is, and whether you're ready or not, they shove you out the door. Sorry, see you. And that's something that we just refuse to do. And we tell our kids all the time, if we're going to put our stamp on you, it better be right. So we want quality talent and stuff, man. But it's been so rewarding. We have one kid. We were actually like, the week before, we were talking about telling him, like, wrestling might not be for you. Maybe you should try being a ref or a manager or something like that, because we're doing all that too. We have one guy training to be a referee right now. We have one guy training to be a manager. So we were literally 1 week away from telling him that, and I talked with him, and I was like, look, man, you got to step it up and do something. And now he is one of our shining stars. Like, he shows up now when he does his drills, when he runs, when he's doing everything. Like, he looks like a wrestler now, and it's like, he was my project from when we started. Right. All three of us each picked out one. It was like, that's going to be my project, and he was my project. And to see him flourish, and you know, we still have days where it's all in his head, and you get jumbled up, and you know, you forget what you're doing. But for the most part, man, he's killing it, and I couldn't be more proud. Yeah,
you know, talking about that, it's almost like a light bulb moment when someone is struggling, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a jump. Martial arts are a lot like that, especially jiu-jitsu. I've done jiu-jitsu before, and it's like, I'm not doing anything, I'm not getting anywhere. The next night, I'm tapping somebody with something that I hadn't had work before, and I make that jump. And it sounds like that's kind of that can be
Yeah.
applied with what you guys do. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, when you see that light switch go off in their head, you're like, oh, that's what you mean when you yell at me and say, don't do this or don't do that. That's why. Yeah. And when that light bulb clicks and they start to get it, it's such a rewarding feeling.
I was about to ask you how rewarding it is.
Yeah, I mean, the kids pop us all the time. Like the kid I was talking about, he has one of the best arm drags, like legit, like for anybody around. It's so clean and so good. And the first night he hit it, like I immediately like popped, like ran around the ring. I was like, oh god, I was so into it.
Yeah. And some people might be thinking, arm drag, what's the big deal? But when you have those basics that look so solid, everything else is just going to look good too.
Yep, that's what we pound it in their head all the time. It's basics, basics, basics. It's just like Great Balls of Fire, where they had where Roman smashed the ambulance in. I think it's Great Balls of Fire. Mm-hmm. And they were trying to fill time, so they brought out Heath Slater and Kurt Hawkins, and they legit ran just basic stuff, but it looked so good and so crisp that even people on Twitter were like, we don't care about this, go back to that match.
Let's create.
Yeah, that's what I was telling them. I was like, you never know, you don't know if that was planned or if they were standing at catering and they were like, hey, we need some time to fill. You two guys, come on. You know what I mean? You gotta have your basics down. If you have that, you can do anything. The flashy stuff comes later.
And you actually have another job, and you and I were talking just before this about that. A lot of people would say you're a hero. Let's talk about it. What do you do in South Carolina for your shoot job, as they say?
I've been a fireman for almost 11 years now. I say it all the time, like literally a third of my life. It's what I've been doing. It's a very rewarding job. I ride a rescue truck, and that's always been my focus, because you have the people who put out the fire, then you have like the guys who are on the ladder truck that cut roofs and do some of that, and like the rescue work was always what I wanted, because it's very specialty based stuff. Like you have to take so many classes for ropes and building rope systems. I have so many classes for auto extrication. Like if somebody gets in a wreck, I can cut you out of your car, and I know exactly how the metal's going to move and where to do things like this. And confined space stuff, like you have specialty classes of how to rig a rope system and be able to go into these dangerous areas and stuff like that, and confined space and stuff like that. Like it was just what I really liked was that aspect of it, So that's what I've been doing for almost 11 years, and I've been on a rescue truck for eight of those. So it's very fun. I enjoy it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And with the weight loss, I'm sure there's a calendar coming out.
Yeah. They canned those a long time ago. Firemen can't be trusted to do those.
So
Exactly.
I messaged you earlier in the week trying to get a little background to help us prepare for some of these questions. And you mentioned C.W. Anderson being one of your influences. I also noticed, because when we lead up to an interview, I try and watch matches that people have had so we can discuss that. You've been wrestling them a little bit.
I have.
So one of your idols, one of your influences, you're able to wrestle him. Tell us about that. How that's been for you.
It's crazy because him and Steve Carino, like when I was younger, I loved ECW. Like I loved that there was no rules and you could do whatever. And there was two guys who really stood out to me, and it was Steve Carino, because the way he talked on the microphone, like he talked like no one I'd ever seen before. Like I loved Ric Flair. Like as a child growing up, I thought he was the greatest on the microphone. And then I saw Steve Carino and the way he talked and the way he just evoked such emotion from the crowd with just nothing but his words. Like they never got upset, never had to yell. Just the things he would say, and they would just lose their minds. And then C.W. Anderson was another guy, and he first stuck out to me because of the last name Anderson, because I always loved like Arn and the Four Horsemen and stuff like that. And but when I watched him, like there's literally like zero wasted emotion when he moves. Like he can stand here and do all of this stuff, and when he moves, it's just like a rocket goes off. Like, he's so explosive. He's so explosive, and boom, he's right back to that steady rock base. There's no wasted movement, no anything. And it was one of those things. Like I saw that, and I was like, that's wrestling right there. Like that's how you do it. And we did the big man bash for AML in where were we? Somewhere in North Carolina. It was a little small town, and it was they had Jax Dane from TNA on there. They had Drew Galloway. it was Elliott Russell, me, CW, and there's a few more guys that I'm drawing a blank on now. It's been a few months back. But the first match was me and CW. We had never wrestled before or anything. And he was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I figured, because I know he's super old school. I was like, I'll dive, roll you in, triple moonsault, this, that, and the other. And he just looked at me. And I was like, I'm just kidding, whatever you want to do. And from then on, like we came up with the finish of the match, and everything else was called out there. He just wanted to call it and see if we could do it like that. And it's one of those old school guy things where they testing you to see if you can pull through and stuff like that. And we got done, and we actually, from everybody that was there at the show, said we had match of the night, and it was only thing we had was literally like a 3-move sequence at the end that we called, and everything else was just working with each other. And it's been fun, man. It's a surreal moment. Like at WrestleCade this past year, I wrestled White Mike, Timmy Lou, and Darius Lockhart. And after it was over, they were like, hey, we need you to go over here and cut a promo. So you go to the other room and you cut a promo. I go in there and I cut my promo and I'm done. And I hear this voice behind me. He's like, hey, Billy, you mind if I give you a couple pointers? And I was like, sure. And turn around, and Steve Carino.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which I had known Steve from, he used to book PWX back in the day. He used to help out booking PWX and through Noah and Colby and stuff like that. And I didn't think that he would remember me, and then he was like, can I give you a couple pointers? And I was like, yes, sir, anything you want. He's like, everything you said was great. Your cadence was good, your timing, your tempo, everything was great. He was like, only thing I can say is, say your name more. And I was like, what? And he was like, why do you think Coca-Cola says their name 60 times in a 60-second commercial? It's because it's product recognition. And I was like, it's one of those things like, that makes so much sense. Why did I never think of that before? Yeah, and it was one of those deals and now I get to work with CW, and I've had Steve Carino help me with promo work and stuff like that. It's one of those things never in a million years, if you would tell me this as a kid, 8-year-old me is really excited about life right now, because I wanted to be two things when I was growing up. I wanted to be a professional wrestler, I wanted to be a fireman, and I'm doing both now. So
That's awesome.
That's so you guys are running a program now with CW, bringing up Cut Shaw to AML. And
yeah, I attacked him after his match last show. And Damian Wayne came out, and so I got to bring a couple friends along too. So
There you go.
yeah, that's coming up in a couple weeks. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
you get a lot of bang for your buck with Cut Shaw. It's multiple people just
Exactly.
have to pay one of them. So.
Exactly. If one of them gets hurt, just tell the other guy to take over.
Right. Well, you mentioned Flair earlier and his promos. Nate and I are big Flair fans, big Horseman fans, especially him.
Yeah, all-time favorite.
Yeah, that's his all-time
I love
favorite.
Flair.
When I asked you about influences, Flair and Tully were on the list, and that's definitely my two favorite horsemen. Clear cut, no doubt about it. I was telling Nate on the way here, back in the '80s, I was watching wrestling then, slingshot suplex. I was like, this is the most innovative thing I've ever seen.
Right.
I can definitely see, and Nate agreed, some of their influences on your moveset and some of the other things you do. So besides asking if you're going to break out the slingshot suplex, which I would love, I'd pop and I'd be buying your shirts and everything else. How did they influence you, and what do you draw from them to try and apply to your matches?
The main things was with Flair is he lived it. What he said, he was living it. He was doing it. That was one of those things early on in wrestling, they tell you, or that I was told, if you don't buy into what you're doing, nobody's going to. It was one of those things he went out and bought a junky limo and hired a guy to drive him around just to present his character. Nobody was doing that before. Well, a couple of guys, but nobody to the extent that he did it. And then with Tully he is just the epitome to me of what a heel is. He is, when he's taking a beating, he's the biggest, oh no, please don't, the biggest on a chicken heel, you know what I mean?
Right.
He's out and he's down, but when he takes over, he is the baddest man in that building. When he gets the upper hand, there is no let up. He just mauls you and he beats you, and you know what I mean? From that no to when he takes over, you believe everything he does. That's what my biggest deal with being a heel is trying to emulate at least a portion of what he does.
Yeah. Well, you're pretty brutal in the ring, both on the mic and to your opponents. And again, we're talking about the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing. It's amazing how you can flip that switch when you come out as Billy Brash.
I appreciate that, man.
We notice, and again, Sunshine Suplex. I'm gonna turn it over to Nate for what we're about to get into here for some features.
All right, so one of our features is called Over the Top Rope. This is where we go to the person we talked to previously on an interview, which happened to be James Drake, and we get that person to say, okay, we're interviewing Billy Brash this week, so give us a question. And so his question for you is, if you had to team with one of these two guys, who would it be? Danny Only or the 6'4" luchador?
Obviously Danny Only, because I am the 6'4" luchador.
We knew there was an inside joke and we figured it out, but tell us about the 6'4" luchador.
It's I don't do it much, but I love lucha libre, so every now and then I'll break out some fancy lucha flips and lucha drags and different setups and stuff like that, and I always make the joke that I'm the 6'4" luchador, so that's where that came from. I don't do it much, but when I'm really feeling it, I'll pull it out.
Nice.
I had to do a Google search to find out who Danny Only was, and I found stuff on him, but I couldn't find anything on 6'4" luchador. So I was like, James, help me out here.
Yeah.
So you told me.
Now Danny's a great guy, man. He's a one of a kind. He's another one of those, what you see is what you get. He's just a genuine person. We don't always agree on everything, but he's one of those people that if you needed anything or if you needed somebody to be there, he's give you the shirt off his back even if he didn't have another shirt to put on. You know what I mean? He's that type of guy. And teaming with him was so much fun, and then he's had the worst run of luck his last few years of wrestling. It was like injury, comeback, injury, comeback, injury. So we started rolling, and we did 3 or 4 shows. Like we went down to Jacksonville, Florida, and wrestled at USWA, and then we were at Southern Fried, and we were a couple other places, and it just one of those things. He got hurt again. He blew out his knee while wrestling Chip. He blew out his knee, and it's just one of those things that just, I love the guy. Hopefully he gets back and comes back, but at this point he's deciding whether it's still something he wants to do or not. I love the dude to death. That was a great guy.
All right, so here's our other feature called 10 Count, where we have just a bucket of questions, and we can kind of ask anybody. And so here's the first 5 for me. What would your dream match be if you could wrestle anybody, dead or alive, in their prime?
Oh, Tully.
Tully, okay.
Yeah, 100%. I would take the worst beating ever. Be the most generic baby face.
Chance.
Yeah, 100% Tully.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, I hate to drag it to the ground or beat it to the ground, but we keep talking about how fit you are and everything. And of course, you got a lot of height on you, 6'4", athletic. What have you played any other sports?
No, I was never a sports kid. I played like soccer, like youth league soccer when I was a kid, but other than that, I never played any sports. I never, even to this day, I watch football, but I'm not like a super huge football fan. I watch hockey, which if there's any sport, like you want me to sit down and watch it, put some hockey on, I'll sit down and watch that. Okay. But even with that, I don't follow it like I do, but it's always been wrestling since I was a kid. Like that has been my thing. We used to drive almost an hour every Saturday night from our house to my aunt's house because she had cable when I was a kid, just to watch like Saturday Night Heat and stuff like that. Yeah. And that ever since I can remember, my dad was suplexing me in the living room when I was a kid. Actually, funny story, me and him trained together when I first started wrestling. Yeah, it's one of those things. When he was younger, he went to go to wrestling school, and they were like, "Oh, you're too skinny, kid. We go make you a ref," because everybody was, double wide trailers at the time. Yeah, they're huge. So, yeah, that's a funny story, but yeah, it's always been wrestling.
So no basketball, nothing like that?
No, in high school, the coach used to be like, "Come out and try out." I'm like, obviously you've never seen me try to shoot basketball because you do not want me on your team.
Gotcha. All right, so number 3, what's the most strange or unique gift you've been given by a fan, or the coolest gift you've been given by a fan? I saw like last viral show somebody gave up a game system and bottles. Anything like that you can share with us?
Yeah, actually that was probably the coolest gift. Like she gave me I'm a real big, like one of my things is like collecting retro video games. Like that's one of my passions, one of my hobbies. I try to if I'm coming to a new town, I try to get there early so I can go like hit up a couple stores, a couple thrift stores and stuff, and see what they got. It's and then I had Tiffany Brooks and her mom brought me. They brought me a Game Boy Color system that had, I want to say it was like Donkey Kong in it or something like that. I can't remember the game that was in it. And they brought me an Atari Classic, like one of those pre-rigged like 25 games on it or whatever. Brought me one of those. They brought me these 2 giant glass Budweiser bottles, which was, I was not expecting it. And they said it was for my birthday and stuff, so that was really cool. Yeah, that's probably the coolest gift. I've had some strange things happen with fans, like people showing up to my house. Like yeah, that was when I first started. I had 2 people just randomly show up at my house one day, and they were like, "Oh,
to fight you or to hang out?"
No, to hang out. I was like, "Sorry." Close the door.
I'm off right now.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Maybe you're a little too nice outside the ring.
Yes.
Can you work on that?
I guess that's always been mine and my dad's curse, man. My mom says because we make eye contact with people, that people just want to come up and they want to tell me their entire life story, no matter how weird or strange it is. So I get that a lot.
That's funny. All right, so there's another feature that we have. We can, well, it's part of the 10 count, but we asked this of several other people. So if you could have one superpower out of any superhero, what would it be? Pick a superpower.
It would probably, I don't know. It would probably be flight. It would have to be flight. 100% would be flight. That's not even a question.
Like, I shows quicker. And
yeah, like it just, you don't want to be involved with something. Just fly off. What are they gonna do? You know what I mean?
That's mine as well.
It would have to be flight.
So what was your first car?
My first car. It's actually before I could drive. I had 4 or 5 different cars before I could even drive.
Really?
I have this thing where I used to. I haven't done it in a long time. But I used to just get really bored with vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked. I've had a job since I was 14, cutting grass and doing stuff like that. So we went to an auction and I bought an '86 Camaro with a V6 in it and it had a fresh paint job on it, and I paid $700 for it. Went and put $100 worth of tires on it and $20 CD player and sold it for $1,500 like a week later.
Wow.
Yeah. So I bought it and I drove it and I was like, I was really tall. I just didn't like getting in and out of it. My dad told me, he's like, once you get a truck, like you're never gonna do it. So I had that Camaro. I sold it, bought an 84 Nissan little 4-wheel drive pickup truck. My dad decided he wanted that, so I traded him for a 1990 Chevy Silverado. Had that for a little while, and then wrecked it, and then had like several vehicles. But by the time I graduated high school, I think I had 7 different cars.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Either I wrecked it or I got tired of it, and I would just sell it and buy something else.
Okay. All right, that's my 5.
All right, so question 6. If you had to get in a street fight, pick 2 independent wrestlers that you won't have in your back.
Independent wrestler.
Yeah.
Josh Cutchall
Okay.
and James Drake.
Yeah.
Those would be my 2.
That's good.
Yeah.
Big guys.
Big
They're
guys.
both pretty tough.
They're very hard-headed,
Yeah.
like me. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't know when to lay down.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, question 7, and I try to ask this of almost everybody because, we hear about a lot of problems in independent wrestling. People, promoters canceling on guys, not telling them. People showing up and want to work stiff just to make an example of it. Different things. What is one thing that you would like to see change in the pro wrestling business? It could be at any level, but if you had a genie in a bottle, you could change one thing immediately today. What would it be?
Everybody's crying on social media about anything.
Okay.
Like, whether they don't like this type of maneuver that was done, whether they don't like this person, whether they don't like this promotion, whether they don't like that. Everybody wants to cry kayfabe, kayfabe, kayfabe. Well, you can't kayfabe if you're putting every thought that you have online.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's my biggest thing too. Is I love wrestling in every shape and form that it comes in.
Okay.
I love, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar, like Kaiju Big Battle.
Not really.
Like you dress up in these giant monster costumes, and they have these cardboard like buildings cities set up and two guys wrestle and they do moves through these
Wow.
cardboard buildings and stuff like I love stuff from that. Like I used to love Shikara when I was younger, all the gimmicks, all the different characters. I love Lucha Libre, you know, because they do a completely different style. It was the first time I ever saw a six-sided ring was AAA. I love the death matches. I love every bit of it. I love spot matches where I can watch them like, God, these guys are athletic, you know, and I love an old school match where they're telling a story and stuff like that. I just wish everybody could just let people just do their thing.
Let people enjoy that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like just because you don't like it, somebody's obviously liking it because, you know, it's number one, it's on the internet, so somebody recorded it and now you're talking about it. So somebody somewhere likes it. So that's one thing we were saying too. It's if I can add a little bit to that. One of the things like with the culture of professional wrestling, we were just talking about it Thursday night after training, me and Ethan and Malachi and Joe Gibson. It's one of those things because we went to Buffalo Wild Wings afterwards and got something to eat after class, and our server came up and he was obviously a wrestling fan. Like we were talking about some stuff, and then he jumped right in and he was like, "Oh, I don't really watch it much." And then he started talking about like the Nexus and the Core and all this stuff. He started naming people's finishers and stuff, and we were like, "Dude, you were definitely a wrestling fan." He's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you know, it's one of those things like in wrestling." If you were a diehard wrestling fan your whole life, you've been ridiculed at some point because of it, you know. And it's one of those things where it's so stigmatized now, where people don't want to say it to people that they perceive as normal people because they don't talk about it. And then the thing that really kills me is once you get into wrestling and you get into that community, especially with the fans, you have your smart fans. They're trying to make fun of this guy because he likes a different type of wrestling. It's like, we all like wrestling. We've all been picked on because we like wrestling. Can't we all just hang out? Right. Why does your opinion have to be better than his? Why can't everybody just enjoy stuff and just get along? You know?
And I've said it before, so Baskin Robbins has 31 flavors of ice cream.
Exactly.
It's not just all vanilla, so there's something for everybody to choose from, and everybody likes different things.
I don't understand. Nobody watches the same type of movie. Nobody watches, you know, for the majority, people watch different types of movies. They listen to different music. They listen to different things. Why is wrestling the only form of media that's supposed to be one way?
Right.
This is how we do it. This is how we've always done it. Don't change it. Like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
You know, there's a niche for everything in this world. So I don't understand why people want to pigeonhole wrestling so much.
Yeah, it's a good example with the music.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, speaking of music, I asked you about what type of music you like. And the answer I got back, I was like, I can't work with this. It was so all over the place.
It is all over
So
the
help
place.
me out here. Question number 8. Give me your road trip playlist, because you're traveling all over for wrestling.
It's all over the place. It is legit like the most random. Like it goes from WWE entrance music to old school hip hop to modern day hip hop to punk rock to pop punk to heavy metal to hardcore music to all the way to like I really love Hall & Oates. So
Yeah, and just so we're clear, he named one band from each of those when I asked him, and I'm like, I don't know what to do about
Hey,
this.
man.
Hall & Oates was on there
Hall
too.
& Oates just gets me, man. It just puts me in a great mood. Like, I'm always happy when I listen to it. Like, it's just such fun music. And then like, you know, there's different people from every genre of music. Like there's legit, like I listen to Taylor Swift. Like there's nothing I don't listen to. Like unless it's just really, really bad, I give everything a chance.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Kind of like we were talking about with the wrestling, right?
Yeah.
There's a little
Exactly.
bit,
There's a little bit you can take from everything.
So we talked about when you and I were messaging some of your favorite actors, and your top 2 are probably 2 of my top 3: Ed Norton
Mm-hmm.
and Denzel Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my favorite questions to ask is called "Lose One." All right. Now I'm going to ask you to lose either Ed Norton or Denzel Washington, but please understand, if you lose Ed Norton, you lose everything he's associated with. So there is no Fight Club. It's not like somebody else can play Ed Norton. It's over. There's no Fight Club. You lose Denzel, you lose Man on Fire, Training Day, Remember the Titans, and so on.
Man.
So drop one now, and whoever it is, you've never seen a single movie from them.
They don't exist.
I'm gonna have to go with Ed Norton.
You're going to drop Ed Norton.
I would have to.
Okay.
I would have to. And simply because Edward Norton in every movie, even though he does different characters, there's always that little piece of Ed Norton that's always in there, that's always familiar in every role.
Right.
And which is why I'm really like drawn to his stuff, because there's always that little piece where even if you like were blind and you know, which you'd obviously hear his voice, but still like there's always those little things that he does that draws you in. But with Denzel, it's a completely different person in every movie he's ever done. And legit, like I can think of a couple of movies where Ed Norton made where I'm like, those are questionable. But Denzel, I can't think of like, and I've sat and tried to think, there's not one movie he's ever made that is not phenomenal.
Yeah.
Or at least he is phenomenal.
Right.
Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The rest of the movie may be whatever, but he is always phenomenal. And it's such a wide range of, when he's a bad guy, he is a bad guy. Like Training Day. You know, when he's a good guy, he is so overly good and genuine. He could be a dirtbag and still make you care about him, like in Flight. Or then, you know, like there's no limits to what he can do. Like when he was Man on Fire.
Yes.
Like when he is the nicest guy ever, and when it's time to do what needs to be done,
Flip a switch.
yeah, you buy into everything that he's doing. Like there's not one thing that Denzel does that's just not like, whoa, that was good.
Now, I'm going to disagree with you to one little portion of that. Somebody recently put something on Facebook and said, if you watch every Denzel movie, he makes a guarantee in every movie. Have you seen that yet? I'm going to send it to you, okay?
Yeah,
because and they went through, but the
send me one of those glass shatter things. Like, oh no.
Yeah, but the one thing I noticed, I don't think Glory was on there. You seen Glory?
Mm-mm.
You've never seen Glory?
No.
All right. We'll talk later, but I don't think he made a guarantee in Glory. He plays a slave who's fighting in the army.
No, I don't think I have ever seen that one.
Okay, all right.
I don't think I have.
You need to see that. It came out in like '89, so you're probably like 2 years old. But
Yeah. I was 3.
but seriously, Glory was incredible. We actually watched it in my history class because there was a lot of actual,
That's awesome.
factual stuff. But all the other stuff, and I do remember him, in Training Day and some of the. He told Ethan Hawke, "You're gonna do some damage out here on the streets. I guarantee you that. If you go back, I'll send it to you."
I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, truth be told, too, like one of my favorite roles that he ever did is Fallen. You seen the movie Fallen?
Yes.
When he's singing in that is where I got the idea to sing at the beginning and the end of the promo.
Okay.
Because that was the tell of when the demon was in somebody. That was the tell, was that song. Time
Nice.
is on my side. And I was like, all right, I need something like that.
Right.
That is the catch right there. Boom. And then I started just going through my crazy random music stuff, and that song that I sang at the beginning of that promo was actually an old Steve Earle song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man.
So that went to the Notebook then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So number 10 on the 10 count, final question, we call it the envy question. We just interviewed Drake last month. So one thing that you could take from Drake, it could be anything. You can have his finishing move, you can have his merchandise, you can have his persona, it could be something outside the ring. You like his truck, take it. Pick one thing you take from Drake right now.
Oh man, his athletic ability. He is surprisingly athletic. He's another one of those guys that if he stood in the ring and just clubbed people and just beat them down, you'd be like, yep, I buy that. And then when he starts moving, he's like CW. When he moves, he's so explosive. He's so quick. Everything does it. Boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
the dude hit a shooting star press. Just a running shooting star press, just out of nowhere, just because he can.
Yeah.
The guy that size, to be that athletic and that agile, like that's what I would take from him.
Yeah.
His athletic
I can see that.
ability.
I sent Nate something. Somebody posted a video. He did a split-legged moonsault like Rob Van Dam used to do.
I'm sure he did.
I said, Nate,
I'm
look
sure he
at
did.
this. And that's unbelievable.
He's so talented,
That's
it's
unbelievable.
ridiculous.
It's like just showing off at this
Yeah.
point.
It's
Come on,
insane.
Drake. Come on.
It's so insane.
Well, that's it on the 10 count. We're wrapped up, man. So go ahead and plug some stuff you got coming up. This will take about a week or two to produce. So
Right on.
don't talk about anything right now. If you want to just plug your Facebook, if people
Yeah,
can
we'll
hit you
just
up.
plug social media.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Find me on Facebook at Billy Brash. Twitter is at the Billy Brash. Instagram is Billy Brash, and Snapchat is Billy_Brash. That's it. I'm way more active on Instagram
Yeah.
and Snapchat than anything else, just because I don't care about reading about your day. I just want to see some cool pictures.
I'm with you. I like Instagram better. And a lot of his body transformation you can see on Instagram. So the stuff that we're praising about, talking about, you've actually got, there's a couple videos of you working out.
Yeah. Also, Palmetto Wrestling Academy on Facebook.
Absolutely.
If you want to learn how to be a professional wrestler, myself, Ethan Case, head trainer, myself, Malachi Matthew, and Joe Gibson are the assistant trainers. We're in Columbia, South Carolina, so every Tuesday and Thursday night.
Definitely. And if you're a promoter and you're watching this, if you haven't booked this guy, you're missing out. He is one of the best heels Nate and I have ever seen. There's no doubt about that in my mind. We were just talking about that on the way here.
Yeah,
Trying to name somebody on your level of being a heel.
I appreciate that.
And it was difficult.
I feel like it's one of those things too. Like for the longest time, I felt like the actual heel is gone from wrestling because everybody wants to do the cool moves and be accepted to a certain point. And one of the only people two people that I can think of who, when they are a heel, and you believe it, is James Drake and John Schuyler. You know, those are two guys who I would say do it just as good, if not better, than I do. You know, because it's nobody really wants to be the bad guy. Nobody wants to be hated. And, you know, it's just something inside of me. I'm like, I really don't want you people to like me too much.
And that's the thing, promoters, indie wrestling, that's the thing that as a fan I enjoy the most as going to indie wrestling shows that you don't get going to the bigger shows is the interaction you get with the wrestlers. And this guy inside the ring, he's phenomenal. Outside the ring, as far as like promotion and just getting along with the fans and interacting with them, he's the best there is. So yeah, definitely give him a call.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and plug our stuff.
Yeah, we can be found on Facebook, facebook.com/suplexes&mics. Instagram is @suplexes&mics. Twitter @suplexes&mics. So yeah, give us a follow on there, and you can find links to our YouTube channel where all these are. So if you come across this anyway, so yeah, like, subscribe, comment. Any suggestions for people you might want to see on the show in the future? Something you might want to see different. Submit some 10-count questions.
Yes.
We can add to that. So yeah, feel free to contact us in any way. So yeah, thanks Billy for being on the show with us.
Of course, man.
And look forward to the show tonight.
And support good people that support everything that we do.
Appreciate
man.
that.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you guys.
And that's it. Episode 9.
1, 2,